Dan, good evening. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast tonight.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to getting you on here. Now, you are not the first Air Force veteran that's been on the podcast before, but you are the first Air Force veteran that's done what you've done. And that's kind of really what I want to start with, because every great story has a beginning. So I want to go back a little bit in yours here. So going into the Air Force, what led to that decision? Was the Marine Corps recruiter like out at lunch that day or something?
No, not at all. It's really kind of all over the place. But I'll tell you, I was graduated high school. I went away to college for a semester, came home from that and was at a community college. And the community college is there in Maryland. So the Maryland Guard was there and they had A-10s. So I was watching those guys fly around and literally, I said I was about 19. I didn't say anything to my mother or anything like that. I literally went to the recruiter. I did a little bit of research, but this is 1990, right? So the internet's not as available as we had it. So I thought I wanted to be a PJ, and I went in with an open contract to be a PJ. And I got down to basic training, and I had like 2,400, and they were like, no. So my dream shattered like week 2, of basic training. And they made me security police. And then it bounces around from there. Yeah.
Gotcha. So making that decision to actually go into the Air Force like you did. So how did the conversation pan out, with your mother because of course she found out eventually that you decided to go. So what did that conversation look like? Yeah,
it was pretty, she was shocked. So the high school I went to, Calvert Hall College, it's a college prep school, right? All boys, sport coat and tie for 4 years. So not many people really enlist in the military going from that. So for me to enlist, and she was, and I'm an only child too, right? So the baby, she was pretty shocked. But she was proud, and it's funny though. She's, I think she once called me like the commandant of the Air Force. Like she doesn't, right? She doesn't know. So God bless my mother's soul. She's still here with us, but she didn't know. And so but she loved it.
Now, has military service, has that run in your family at all? Like maybe is there anyone from your past in your bloodline that actually might have inspired you to make this decision?
My dad served in the Navy during Vietnam. So he was in Vietnam in the Navy. It was, always on my mind a little bit. But other than that, though, from my past, it was really just that. I would tell you, though, my wife actually joined about 3 years after we were married. So my wife is currently in, so she's guard, but full time. So just like active duty. Just made E8 a couple months ago. So yeah.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Right on. And is that what brought you to San Antonio?
Yeah. So she was, traditional guard up in Oklahoma. We were both Oklahoma Air Guard at that time. I retired in 2016. And she's still serving, right? But, guard, it's kind of like you get to, you're doing your career, and she had someone who offered her a spot. And so we actually PCS'd her active duty orders from the guard, put her, and we actually was a PCS move down here.
So, let's see. So let me see if I got your timeline right. So you went in 1990, you got out in 2016. So you were in there for a good while. Was that the plan going in? Did you knew right away you wanted to make a career out of the Air Force?
No, Josh, dude, I had no idea. So when I joined, I was in the delayed enlistment in November of 90. And then I went to basic training, February of 91. So right after Desert Storm. So the real Desert Storm kicked off in January of 91. And I had no idea that I was going to stay that long. And I touched all 3 service components for the Air Force. So I was active duty, like straight real active duty for about 9.5 years, almost 10 years. Went into the reserves. So that was in the Air Force Reserves. Did that for a hot minute, and 9/11 happened, was back on active duty orders for the reserves. And then I switched over to the Air Guard. That's actually when I became a TACP. So I switched over to the Air Guard in about 2007. And then retired. My retirement's from the Guard. So I get to wait till I'm 60 to get it.
Oh, of course. So
it'll be just like an active duty retirement, though, with all my points, because I got about 14 years active time, and then the other 10 is Guard and Reserve. So the way the Guard does it. It'll be like an active duty retirement sitting there when I'm 60.
Very good. Hey, can't wait. Right?
Right? It's like a pension, right? A little pension just sitting there waiting.
All right. So you threw out a couple of acronyms just now. You brought up PJ earlier. You brought up JTAC earlier as well. So can you kind of fill us in on some of those? Because even for myself, I'm kind of the lay audience when it comes to like Air Force side of things. Even though I worked alongside them when I was in the Marine Corps, I spent some time aboard Nellis and Grand Forks and everything like that. But I was with the Ospreys, so I don't know very much about what goes on in your neck of the woods, so to speak, with what you've done. So fill us in on some of those details.
Yeah. So pararescue, like I said, I didn't get selected because I had bad eyes back then. But that's called pararescue. So they're the PJ stands for parajumper, pararescue. So that's the Air Force Special Warfare side when they're rescuing down pilots, right? Is the thing. That would have been a great honor. I mean, that's a lot of swimming. Like those guys, again, from what I know in my career, I mean, they swim almost even more than SEALs. From what, right? The SEALs and them always will banter back and forth. But that's what PJ stands for, pararescue. I always held those guys in high admiration. Like I said, so that's what I wanted to join to do. But again, was blind as a bat back then. But I had PRK, so I had eye surgery back in 2001. That's how I was able to become a TACP, a JTAC in 2007. And so TACP is Tactical Air Control Party. The Marine Corps actually have TACP guys, and JTAC is a qualification. And as an Air Force TACP, I have to get that qualification. And that stands for Joint Terminal Attack Controller. That's kind of like more like that photo. You're calling in close air support. So we're the close air support subject matter experts, right? So we're really not doing anything, right, for the Air Force. We're attached to Army units. It can be conventional, and then we have an offshot that can go on the special tactics side and support, like a Green Beret or whoever, type of scenario. I stayed straight conventional. So like my deployment, I deployed in 2011 and got to support 10th Mountain and go to Southern Afghanistan and support those guys doing combat operations.
So what kind of training pipeline did that look like? I mean, probably pretty in-depth, probably a good amount of technological stuff that you had to work with there. So was that a pretty long school?
Yeah, it's not as long. So again, PJs and combat controllers are the other sides of the Air Force Special Warfare. TACP really isn't, I think, as long. I mean, again, hope nobody, don't quote me, right? I'm sure I'll have everybody in the Air Force career fields yelling at me.
Well, it probably might even changed up since you were last in. I'm guessing
it really
too.
has. It really has. Yeah. So when I went through, the schoolhouse was down in Florida, Herbert Field, right? And now it's here in San Antonio, down at Lackland. There's the training annex and up at Camp Bullis. They do a lot of training there. So so it's changed up even from that pipe. And so like there's a washout rate. I mean, it's about like a 40%, something like that, 30% washout rate.
Wow.
Like I would tell you, like I started with 30 guys and I graduated 15, but out of that 15 that graduated with me, 8 were only original out of that original 30. We had washbacks, right? You get to wash back like once, I think maybe twice again. So about half my class were washbacks from another class, and then only 8 of us. So but when you look like Marine Corps stuff, it's rucking, right? I mean, you're doing a lot of rucking, and so for us, it's a lot of like the initial stuff is a lot of radios. So you're learning all the radios, you're learning frequencies, UHF, VHF, HF, antenna propagation, all this kind of crazy stuff, because that's part of what we do in order to call in close air support, right? You got to be able to talk to the aircraft somehow. And so you have to have comms, right? So the initial pipeline is that, and then there's survival school, and then they go to like airborne. But now, like racking my brain now, I think part of the pipeline is actually, so like I talked about the JTAC qualification. So that actually is what gives, and an Army guy, a Marines have, JTAC quals. So it's a qualification. It's a necessity for my job. Like if I don't keep my JTAC status, I'm not any good. Like I can't go out with the Army and do Army things if I can't call in airstrikes. So anyway, so to get your JTAC qual used to be a whole separate thing. And that was another 4 weeks out in Vegas. And that's just the initial. And then you have qualifications. God, and there's currencies. Like you have to have a certain amount of controls in aircraft every 30 days, 90 days, crazy stuff. Night controls. So with all of that, though, now I think the pipeline, I think a lot of I say the kids, because they are, I mean, they're all younger than I am. They're going through, and I think it's part of the pipeline now that they have to go through JTAC QC even before they get to their unit. Yeah.
So yes. So like I mentioned, another part of the training, I'm sure, was like maybe land nav, quite a bit of it, because I'm sure like if you're going to call in air support, you probably might have to point out important details, landmarks, and then of course you kind of have to know where everyone is at all times, so that way like they don't get caught up in the mix of everything when you call in close air support.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Land navigation is a huge part. I mean, that's one of the things that gets the guys, DQ'd and not passing school, especially night land nav. Right. Yep. But even that's very basic compared to when you start going into JTAC QC. Yeah. That map reading, because there's a whole thing when the planes come in, you got to cross a T and there's certain directions and, one's a complete no, and then the other way is totally acceptable. And you can't be, see, now I'm going to go the profanity. You can't be ass backwards. You can't be ass backwards on that because you're going to do a lot of damage, right? And that's one thing fratricide, is you don't ever want. And so, yeah. And that's tough, right? You're being shot at, right? We think about combat, you're being shot at and you're trying to tell a plane, hey, come in, north to south, reciprocal or east to west. And if you mess that up just because you're, a soup sandwich, it's not going to be a good day.
So now when it came to like physical fitness standards, I mean, I'm sure like the Air Force probably has like a baseline like for their physical fitness test, but in your role as the JTAC, was yours maybe actually like higher? Did you maybe actually have to fall under the Army's physical fitness requirements perhaps?
Yeah, back then we did. We took the Army PT test. So like, especially for in the schoolhouse, we took it in the 17 to 21-year-old category, regardless of age. So I would tell you, when I became a TACP in 07, I was 35. But I was scoring, right, my 300s, I think, which is a perfect score for the Army PT test or whatever, something like that. And yeah, like 2-mile run and everything. Nowadays, though, they do like some tier, like it's a tier 2 or whatever, like special operations or special warfare, like workout or like stuff. Yeah, crazy. And now it's a lot more swimming too. Like again, back in the day, like an old school guy, we really didn't swim much. But the younger TACP kids now, man, they're doing more swimming than I know I did.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to also go on a limb to say that you probably had to qualify a lot more with do rifle qualification, probably a lot more too. I'm not sure exactly like, how much, Air Force personnel will have to requalify with the M16 afterwards. Like in the Marine Corps, we had to qualify at least once a year. Yeah. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, it's a lot for the sheer fact of you're with the Army. And so you can't ever be, right? You can't be that TACP, the JTAC out on a mission with the Army. And so, yeah, we would shoot the 240, right? The 240 Bravo. Like you had same thing with medical training, and that's like when you're the Air Force guy, you sometimes have a junior Air Force one with you. We call them a ROMAD, radio operator, maintainer, and driver is the technical term. That's not like by definition, but that's what they're called. Anyway, you might have them with you on a mission, but a lot of times it was just you, right? And so it's just, I don't know, what's a platoon or whatever, or squad, like 13 anyway. You might have like 13 Army guys and you're the one, the Air Force guy, right? And you're walking and it's just you, and you can't be the hindrance, right? You can't be like, damn Air Force. So you have to know, right? Like it goes to MOSs, right? So in the Air Force, it's called an AFSC, in the Army and Marine Corps, right? It's MOS. So acronyms to ranks, right? I can't be walking around, because I would be at COPS, even like in Afghanistan, just by myself, right? As the one little Air Force guy, right? And so Army ranks. And so, yeah, so from weapons training to everything to, again, like the medical side, because you always want to be just like that Swiss Army knife was it, right? I mean, you're doing close air support, but if I'm on a mission and say I can't get close air support or, right, or it's, too close, right? Because there's buildings all around or something like that, right? The collateral damage is too much. At that point, you still want to be dead weight, right? So now you're going to be another gun, right? So you're going to be a good shot and you're going to know what to do, or medical, right? Something goes, something happens and you want to be able to do, things like that. Yeah.
So when you showed up to your first Army unit, like how were you received? Because like you said, the thought that probably might have went through your head was just, oh, I'm the Air Force guy amongst all these soldiers right now. Yeah. I wonder if Navy corpsmen have that same feeling when they join up with a group of Marines, if they feel like the same way. Now, personally, I loved all my corpsmen. My corpsmen were like amazing. They were badasses too. But so yeah, how were you generally received?
It's well, I'd say Afghanistan, like that's a good, just I think that story. So Afghanistan, I was guard, but I supported 10th Mountain, right? That's active duty. And so I was the only like guard guy down in RC South as a JTAC, with these 10th Mountain guys. And so walking in there, I would say the first thing was just like people, like the guard, we had a lot more money. So we only had about like 11 or 10 of us that we were fitting up. So I was in Cry Precision, right? Like a $400 outfit. I had a Surefire suppressor, things like I had everything Gucci coming from the guard. So walking in there, it's just like, hey, like relax, Navy SEAL. Like, what do you do? Right. But then, and you go, and that's what it comes down to. And really, and even all of it, it's the first mission. And even say in training, I've been in training with Army units. It's in training. It's the same thing. Go Air Force. Ooh, it's really easy just to call in and say cleared hot. Yeah, it's the first time when it's a live bomb or it's something, and they see how much precision and integration it takes, right? And they see it firsthand, and then they love you. So I can tell you, right? My first cleared hot, and then I get back. Oh, whatever you want, whatever you need, Dan. Sergeant Horgan, you got it.
Well, okay, you guys in the Air Force get like so much money as it is. All right, I tell you, I always like making this comparison between our dining facilities. Okay, yeah. So like when I was in the Marine Corps, I was stationed aboard MCAS New River in North Carolina, just up the street from Camp Lejeune. And of course, there, once you're done eating, you got to take your tray, you got to walk it yourself to the kitchen, or sometimes they may have like those big, tall rollaway stacks there for you to put in your tray, and then someone will wheel it back. And so when I went to Nellis for the first time, and I go to the dining facility there, they ask, "How would you like your eggs?" I'm like, "What? Excuse me?" He's like, "Yeah, how would you like your eggs? Over easy, scrambled?" I'm like, because I've never been asked how I wanted my eggs before up to this point. And then I'm walking around trying to figure out where to take my tray. And I couldn't find where it went. So I asked a couple of airmen, where am I supposed to take my tray? And they're like, oh, you just leave it on your table. Someone will come bus it for you. So, I mean, it's funny how you say you got more funding as a JTAC when you guys already get a whole bunch of funding in the Air Force in general, it seems.
This was 2011. Well, and it was guard too. So again, I was telling you, I think we only outfitted like 10 or 11 of us. And so, yeah, my logistics guy, my supply guy had a lot of money we had Cry. I mean, I literally was walking around. I mean, right? Cry is the multicam, right?
Yeah, top notch right there.
Yeah, right. And the Army's walking around with their issue stuff. And I always made the joke of like, mine's $400, yours is like $80.
Yeah, I'm sure that helped you fit right in.
Yeah, I still have my Cry from 2011. Like I still have my sets.
You got to keep all those.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, you were in guard, I guess. Maybe it's a little bit different, I suppose. But
yeah, and that kind of stuff too. That was like deployment, and again, that deployment money for that. Yeah, that stuff didn't get turned in.
And do you use any of that with your archery now or your hunting?
Yeah, there's photos. I love like a lot of the. I mean, I have some like Cry tropical, and then the new designs they have out. But like the pair that I still have two pairs of my pants, and I actually got like 2 combat tops and 2 other tops. Yeah, I'll wear those pants constantly. Because right about now, they're Egyptian cotton. They're soft. They're great.
You really were spoiled.
Yeah.
All right. So where has your career taken you? I mean, you threw Oklahoma in there. You brought up Florida and of course Texas here as well. Any overseas postings?
No, not full time. Like I said, I deployed to southern Afghanistan in 11. I did some contract work. So I was the site lead for ISR, right? Intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. So the King Airs, I do my plane, the King Airs with the dual props that have like the canoe on the bottom. I was the site lead up at Bagram and down in Kandahar, like 2017 and 2018. So about a year and a half. So I was bouncing back and forth between Afghanistan every like 60 or 90 days.
Do you have a favorite duty station?
No, I would say one I didn't. So my active duty, I was stationed in North Dakota. I was stationed in Minot 2.5 years. That was horrible.
And just what, too cold for your liking, or not much like nearby to do, or what?
There's nothing to do. So you're about 40 miles or so from the Canadian border. Nothing to do. And again, this is 93 to 96. Yeah, there's nothing. My daughter was born up there though at the base hospital in Minot, but like in 1994 with the wind chill, it was 94 below.
Really?
Yeah, like
it got that cold.
Yeah,
wow.
You're talking like a 50 below, and then with the wind chill kicking it up. Yeah, and that's why I tell people stories when people say about cold. Like back in the day, you used to have block heaters. You used to have to plug your car in, right? And if you went to 7-Eleven or the gas station, like everybody kept their car running, right? Because you didn't want it to freeze. That was horrible. So my ex-wife, right? That was my military divorce. We were married 3 years, but I tried to get us out of there. And so we left in about January of 96. And that's why actually when I flew, I started flying on AWACS. I was a scope dope, a surveillance technician on AWACS from like 96 to 2000.
Gotcha. So, all right. So you covered quite a bit of ground. Well, oh, yeah, man. Sort of, I guess I'll say, even though you're flying and stuff.
Yeah. And so I was a guard baby. Like, again, when I became a TACP, my guard unit, that I kind of was born into is out of Pennsylvania, Fort Indiantown Gap. So that was my unit. I was up there for 3 years with, and then we moved from Maryland back to Oklahoma in 2010. So that's how I got with the Oklahoma TACP unit out there in 2010.
Now, throughout your entire career, I mean, lots of ups and downs. I mean, anyone's military service is going to be like that. You're going to have dark days. You're going to have amazing days. But when it was all said and done, what would you say? And this is certainly going to be a loaded question, so I'm just going to kind of ask you to say what comes to mind. But what do you think were some of your biggest takeaways from your long service in the Air Force?
Yeah, you have to. It's a contract, but while it's a contract, I would tell you and this is what got me was back in 2000, is you have to really, especially I think with a mentality that, I mean, I'm out now, but what I'm getting at is like, you're not like an NBA star, right? Or you're not like an NFL player, right? Like you don't have leverage. And that's what I used to think. And this is back in 2000. I would say that was my only one really disparaging story when I was mad. Is I got selected to be a drill instructor for the Air Force, right? They came up and did a recruiting trip, right? And it was a very long process, but they're like, okay, well, your old career field has to let you go. My old career field was like, well, you're chronic critical. I was just flying holes in the sky, in Oklahoma. I was like, then PCS me or move something. They're like, well, we don't have anything. And they're like, well, if I'm so critical, like this is dumb. I was like, and a drill instructor is a special duty assignment, right? I mean, I was going to, you're 2 to 4 years and then I got to come back to the career field. And they're like, sorry, we're not going to do it. And I was mad. And I was like, well, I'll show you. I'll ETS. I'll get out. And great. And all I did was go to the reserves, right? So total force, right? They knew, but I had that attitude of like it's common sense, but like, I get there's numbers and there's rules. So like that's why when I say what my takeaway is, like I think it's that though, like if you sign up for for 4 years, right, you're gonna do 4 years, right? As in like being a civilian now, I'm not happy in 60 or 90 days, right? you can fire me or I'll roll out. Right. You can't do that in the military. So you're really going to have to make the best of it. That's the thing. Even like North Dakota, making the best of it. I did, right. My daughter was born there. I made a really good, lifelong when we were there, things like that. So, I think those would be my two takeaways, right? You're not LeBron James or some crazy NBA player contract, right. You are a number. And then make the most of where you're at, right? You do travel, right? There's things to do everywhere. There really are. Even in North Dakota, we went up to Canada, right? And there's always things to do. So, right, while you might not be happy, right, with that first one, I'm stuck in a 4-year contract. Yeah, make the most of it though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Travel, do something. You get leave, man. You can't start a job nowadays and have get 30, 2.5 days a month? No, you get 2 hours of paycheck or something stupid for 12 days a year, right? So, yeah, military is not bad. I would encourage. So, I have 3 boys, and I keep telling them one of you's joining. Damn, if your mother and I served, if not one of my kids is going to join, come on now.
It's no, you all will not be TikTok influencers. At least one of you is going to go. I don't know what your kids are into, but
no. Well, my oldest is 21. I have 4 kids. My daughter's, like I said, she's my oldest. She's in New York and a graphic designer. She's great. But my 3 boys from my wife, Bethany, our oldest son, Ryan, he's 21 and he wants to be a cop. Right. And so I did 7 years in Baltimore as a cop. So I'm well pushing that. So, and that's service. Trust me, being a police officer is just as serving as joining the military. So I'm all right, I'll take that. But I still have an 18 and a 12-year-old. I'm looking at the 2 of them, what are you 2 going to do? What are we doing?
Well, especially your 18-year-old, because it's about that time,
It really is. I'm trying not to be the hard ass dad. He just turned 18. So I'm when are we getting the job, bud? What are we doing? he's college isn't going to be for him, which is fine. But it's just we have to work. You got to be something, right? You're an adult now at 18. Got to be a productive member.
Well, the world never hands anyone anything, without effort. So
no. In the military, I think he likes it, but it's one of those, especially he's 18, right? I want to do it, but I don't want to die. That's his thing. And so he thinks he's going to die. Right. And I'm well, jobs I did, you could, because that's a combat job, and he's well, that's what I would want to do. Yeah. I'm well, yeah, well, then you could die. I go, but so my wife, Bethany, she works in personnel. She probably has a very low chance of dying. Right. So I'm there's jobs like that. You could go do something, so we'll see what he does.
All right. Right on.
I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 18. Right. I went away to college. Right. I went to college in Connecticut from Maryland for a semester and missed my girlfriend and came home and then we broke up.
Yeah, for me, 9/11 happened during my sophomore year in high school. Okay, so at that point, it's just at least the next few years were pretty clear. I was going to finish high school and then I was going to go into the Marine Corps. I didn't have I had no more further thinking other than that at that point. So it is one of those weird things when you kind of get into that age, it's you have to think of something, but you're still kind of trying to figure out who you are to some degree. I don't even really think I even really kind of locked down an identity till I was probably in my mid-20s, something like that.
Yeah, which is why I'm not trying to be, like I said, the hammer of a dad, but it's just, it's also I worked at a seafood restaurant when I was in Maryland, right when I was 17. I had a job when I was 17, just doing that. And so I'll tell you a funny story. He just asked me to hit his barber's my barber. And he's hey, can you make me a haircut? And I'm am I still paying for those haircuts? And he's well, yeah. I was we're 18, huh? But again, it's recent, so I won't flip that switch, but it is a little bit of and then just as we talk about job stuff. So I got him on Indeed, right? And of course his Indeed resume is very not existent, but it's something, right? And so we're looking at basic jobs and he was talking about the mentality of like, well, I applied for a job. So on Indeed, it says they respond within 6 days. And so he's like, I'm not going to apply for anything else. So I hear back from that one. And I was like, brother, you get like 10 of them out there at the same time.
Well, the thing is, like with jobs, when I tell someone about what I do for a living, I'm an archaeologist.
Yep.
A lot of times they'll be like, well, my job's not nearly as cool as yours. It's like, well, it's not about that. Like,
Right.
like I actually had some guy said, oh, well, I'm just a plumber. I'm like, well, your job's actually kind of more important than mine. People aren't calling me when like something goes wrong in their house. Like,
Right.
they're calling you.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the end of the day, I'm always going to respect someone who has a job, like regardless of what it is. It's like, you're in there, you're putting in your time, you're trying to provide a service or whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, if you are putting in that effort to, make a living and sustain for yourself, you have my respect. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's, that's one thing he does know, like his personality. Like he's like, I don't want to deal with people. Like, so he's not a customer service kind of guy. Right. So you're like, great. There's warehouse, there's back of house type positions that are just like, that you don't really have to deal with customers. Right. And things like that. So, which is, I love that he's right aware, because that's the last thing I want. Right. And that's anyone want. No one wants to go into something like, I know that I don't deal with people well. And then the first job you get, it's like, I don't know, something that's very customer service heavy, and like, it would not be good.
Well, it is really amazing when you see like teenagers really trying to get out there in the workforce and doing stuff. Like I monitor construction crews here in San Antonio for my archaeology job. And there's this one young man that's working who's like 19 years old. And then he was just kind of telling me he says that I'm really glad that I got this job and I get to do this job, because a lot of my peers were going down paths that I did not want to go down. Like a lot of them were just getting in all kinds of trouble. They were running in with the law and they had like no direction, no guidance. And he's like, so I'm here. I get to learn skills. I get to work with great people. And also like the construction foreman and superintendent are great leaders and give them good guidance and everything. So I'm like, right on. It's just that's all I can really think to say for that. It's just, right on. That's awesome.
It is. And when I tell you, when my son goes out, that's usually what I tell him. Like, just and again, being the dad, but it's just like, make good choices, right? Just because now being 18, like these choices can stay with you, right? So make good choices, right? But that's awesome. Yeah, like that kid 100% has it right. Like him to show up there and have that, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. So, Now, before I leave the subject of your military service, a standard question that's become a part of this podcast whenever I have a veteran that comes on is, where were you during 9/11?
Yeah, my story is funny. So military-wise, I was in the reserves, as in that's what I was doing. So I was security forces, right? The police for the Air Force at Andrews Air Force Base. But I was teetering on not re-upping. Like I was like, hey, I'm out, but what am I going to do? But I still was in, but I was the traditional reservist, right? The one weekend. So my full-time job, I was at a company called MBNA America. So they were credit cards. I think Bank of America owns them now. But like if you had like a NASCAR credit card, that was MBNA back in then. This was right 9/11. Literally, you ready? Like I was on the phone so I worked in the charge-off division. So you hadn't paid your credit card in about 6 months. So this is the conversation, like you're probably going to get sued. I was on the phone with the lady who hadn't paid her credit card in about 6 months and was kind of trying to walk through again, trying to help, right? Like, hey, can we, get payments? How, at least if you pay a little, you can knock it down to like 90 days and maybe you can work something out, right? And you're sitting there and you're doing this negotiating and compromise. And she was like, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And we had TVs, but they were like, they're normally like the volume's not on or anything. And I didn't know, like, I was like, yes, ma'am. I need you to get your checkbook. Right. And she's like, oh my God. And then people started being like, oh, right. And I was like, all right, ma'am. Yep. I'm going to let you go, and let her go. Everybody turns the TV on. Yeah. And we, left early that day. And so by November, I was already on active duty orders back at Andrews. But I would tell you, so that company, actually paid my salary for the whole year while being on active duty orders, which again, back in 2000, I think I was like making like 45,000, but they didn't have to pay me, right? But they were paying my full salary.
Damn, you'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my 9/11 story. I was literally on the phone with a woman trying to convince her to get her credit card paid off.
Did you end up having to call her back? Or, I mean, I don't know. It seems like that'd be a weird callback after what had just happened.
Right? No, literally, I think we were out of the office by noon. I think they sent like everybody home, right? We all went home. No, and actually, and at that point, I actually was transferring over and got like my lending authority. So I was going to do approval. So I was actually going to look at applications and approve them, which was a whole process. And so so that's September, like October, I move over to our lending division. And then that's when I got the call, like the end of October. They're like, you are activated. And I was like, what? Yeah. In November, sitting down at Andrews. Yeah. And was there till January of 2003 back on active duty orders.
It's interesting for those who were around at that time. It's just we all vividly remember where we were in the circumstances that we were kind of in when that had happened. Like for me, it was like I said, sophomore year. I walked into history class, and our wall-mounted TV was on as soon as I walked in, which was unusual because we only used it like once in a blue moon and everything like that. If we were like watching a movie or something, and I saw that the first tower was on fire. And then it wasn't very long after that, the second tower was struck. Yeah. And then, of course, pretty much all lessons from our teachers were basically thrown out at that point. It's just like, how do you continue just teaching a lesson when our country was just attacked like that? And so, and I think they probably were talking about, should they send all of us home or whatever? But I think we all kind of finished out the day. Yeah. And then, and it wasn't very long after that where, because I mean, I was a sophomore. Of course, I was thinking about what I was going to do after high school. And of course, the military had popped in there from time to time, but I had the right aptitude to, get good enough scores to, make it and do a college exam, make it into college if I wanted to. But after that happened, no, Dan, let me tell you, it's just the decision was very easy at that point.
Yeah, no, I would say when we got activated, I was mad. So, I mean, here I am. So I'm, police for the Air Force. So back in the day, it was called security police, but now it's called security forces. And so I was, like, okay, you're activating me. I was like, we're going to Afghanistan. Like, where are we going to go? Like, what is it? And they're like, oh, no. Like, you guys are staying here. Like, Andrews is an important base. Like, there's a lot happening on Andrews Air Force Base. So you're like, you just got like security, quadrupled. And so that's why we were activated. But that's why I was like, again, we talked about earlier, like I wasn't going to cuss, but I was like, this is horse shit. I was like, I want to go to Afghanistan. Like I'm a cop for the Air Force. Like I want to what are we doing? Let's do this thing. So actually that's when 2002, right? I'm still on orders. Like that's when I had the bug. I was like, I want to do more, right? I just don't want to, searching cars and people coming in again, especially when Andrews and the flight line with aircraft that were there. I mean, it's right. It's a lot. But I ended up going to the Air Force. So it has a school called Phoenix Raven School. So you fly on cargo planes to places that don't have good security. So I ended up going through that training, making it through that training, and then just flew from 2002 to the end of it to missions to South America. So I was flying down to Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Colombia pretty regularly.
Gotcha. So
yeah.
It's like a lot of motivations came forth, for people like after 9/11, lines were circling around blocks at recruiting stations of people wanting to join, and all for various reasons. I mean, obviously, for the most part, it was very patriotic reasons. But then, like you described, some guys just want to go over there and get it on. That's just what's kind of wired into them. Is just I've met so many Marines that I'm like, what? I could actually probably see you in a past life on the battlefield swinging like, a war hammer or something like that. You just want to go get it on. Like that's you.
Well, I would say that's even my deployment story. So we were scheduled to go, and my unit did, as in my guard unit. So we were supporting the Oklahoma Army unit to go to RC East, right? So I was supposed to be up by the Bagram area out there and go in the RC East. We get a call, like, and when I say deployment, like we're ready to go. Like everybody's, all your training signed off, like you're stamped, approved, go. We get a call from active duty saying one of the JTACs like broke his ankle down in RC South and they needed a replacement. Yeah. And so in 2010, my best friend Brad Smith was killed in southern Afghanistan, right? As a TACP, as a JTAC. So I was like, you're sending me. My commander agreed, right? I probably had a lot of politicking to do, but he eventually said, yeah. And so, yeah, I went down to RC South in the exact area that Brad was in for my deployment a year later. Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
definitely a long career. And, but now you're kind of, you are a civilian. You've been
Yep.
retired for a good while now, and you are kind of sort of getting into the entrepreneurial space a little bit. And
Yep.
you are the founder of Arrow and Honor. So, archery, let's kind of just start there first.
Yeah.
When did that kind of sort of fall in the timeline for your story? Have you always been an archer?
I'll move my thing up there. So that's Total Archery Challenge. That's not my thing, but that's kind of where it really spurred me a little bit. No, Josh, it was like 2020. So I worked for Black Rifle Coffee Company back then, and Evan and the team were getting into archery, and I actually was transporting some bows that we had got through PSE archery, and from San Antonio up to Salt Lake, I would make that trip. And so I was driving about 20 bows that they're engraved on the cams and everything that had the BRCC Arrowhead logo. And I got there, and Evan gave me one. And I'm literally like, this is 2020, June or July. We were doing a thing called the Veteran Adaptive Athlete Shoot. That was the first one that we did.
I'm familiar with that.
No, yeah. So I picked up a bow and literally got dialed in after driving 10. So from San Antonio to Salt Lake City is about a 20-hour drive. In case anyone's right, you do travel. It's a 20-hour drive.
Mm-hmm. It's a long time.
Yeah, Albuquerque is about 10 hours. So that was always my halfway point. I would make it to Albuquerque and stay the night. But then Albuquerque to Salt Lake is about another 10 hours. So here I am just getting out of the truck after a 10-hour drive. They're like putting the bow in my hand, like, let's get you dialed in. And I had never done it. Loved it ever since. And I say that because the Veteran Adaptive Athlete Shoot we did, and then we were involved with the Total Archery Challenge. That bow and watching the guys, especially, I really watched a lot in 2020, like people shooting, that whole crew and John Dudley's of the world, people that are archery, getting to meet, a lot of people. And so I would shoot, but then I would watch, and it was awesome. And it just, and I say it took off from there. I'm not an expert archer by any means. I actually was doing the one in Oklahoma is in April. That starts off kind of the season for the 3D foam stuff for Total Archery Challenge. And I had these people behind me, and that's the beauty of some of these events is the groups will catch up to each other, but people are friendly and you're talking, right? I mean, you're in the middle of the woods, right? So think about it's golf. You're just getting to the next hole and people are there. So you're going to talk. But you watch each other shoot, right? And I think I missed. It was a pretty hard target, and I missed. And I turned and I was like, I know what I'm doing. I didn't say I was good. Right. So I didn't say I was good. I mean, I'm not bad, but it's some of the shots can be pretty tough. And I don't even get to shoot as often as a lot of these guys will shoot, 10 arrows a day, to get out there and practice because they can do it from your backyard. I live a little bit of a commercial area here in San Antonio, Stone Oak, right? So I probably could get 20 yards. I would just feel bad if something went wrong and killed a neighbor kid or cat or something like that, right? That'd be horrible. So I don't shoot my yard. I go to Camp Bullis, right? Josh, it's yours. So Camp Bullis has an outdoor range.
That's a nice range. I've been there before.
Have you? Yeah. I'm about 15 minutes from Camp Bullis, so it's not bad. But they're only open Thursday through Sunday.
Right.
But it goes to 60 yards, and they're real nice, and they know me. But I mean, you pay. But being retired, I have an ID card, so I get to go, and so I'll shoot on bullets. So that's kind of how it started. It was 2020. with it. And so Arrow and Honor Co., right, to go with that story, really came this year. I was in Oklahoma with my wife, and so it's April, right? They do about like 10 or 12 states. So people think about events, think about like a golf event that goes like to 10 or 12 different states. That's how this is for archery. And so Oklahoma starts the season off. We were there, and they're like 2,500 people, right? So over a 3-day weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they'll have about 2,500 people, and that's the smaller ones go through. Like they just did they just did Montana, and so Sean's the owner. I couldn't say, don't quote me, but I bet they had 3,500 people or 4,000 come to Montana probably this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. So you think about over 3 days, if you just to say 3,000 people, that's 1,000 people a day. And so I'm seeing all these archers walk around, and my wife sees it, puts such a smile on my face, and she started actually shooting about 2 years ago. So she shoots with me now, and it's awesome. But she won't shoot like as often. Like even when we do these events, like I like to shoot 2 days. She'll probably shoot one, right? And then lets me go, by myself and shoot one of the days. But anyway, seeing all these people, and I just was like, I'm not one of those vision board guys. I read on your bio. Like I don't carry a bucket list thing with me, and I don't do like the vision board, but people do that, and I'm not making fun of it by any means. So when I say it, like I said it out loud, and that's what I said to her. I said, "All right, we got to think of a name, like and I'm not going to build a bow, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know what widget, but I know like designs, and I know community, and I know branding, and I know I want to help the veteran community." And so, we came up with the name, but my vision board was like, I'm going to be at 4 Total Archery Challenge events next year as a vendor, right? Not me to go to shoot. Like I'm going to have a 10 by 10 tent. And I've already pulled the trigger. So the 11th through the 13th, I'm actually going to go to Colorado. So I'm going to do one this year. So I'm already going to be ahead of my vision board.
Outstanding.
Yeah. It's kind of quick. It is. But when you're bootstrapping something, this is my money. And so it's not free, right? Travel's not free. Like, so Black Rifle, I used to travel for those because the events fell under my umbrella. This is my money, and like my money. So that tent, was $1,900 with my feather flag and tablecloth. And now I got to get myself up there. Right. And then, how much shirts do I have? Right. I can't afford to bring 500 shirts and maybe hope to sell. So like, hopefully I sell out of shirts because I'm not bringing a ton with me. So there's a whole aspect of that. Yeah.
So, well, you mentioned that you kind of want to target the veteran community, pun totally intended, with this. I think that archery is such like a great activity for a lot of veterans, especially veterans who might be struggling with, the past, and, if the past and those demons are kind of weighing on them. Because I feel like when you're at a full draw and you're staring down your sights and sighting in on a target, you really can't think of anything else in that moment, can you? Otherwise, you're going to throw that shot. So it's like, so it really does kind of force you to focus and everything like that, and really just be present in the moment.
Yeah. So now put yourself in that moment 25 more times and in the middle of the woods, and hopefully the weather's good. Like that is the epitome, right? And it's one of those things, like that's what I would do. Unfortunately, you can't get paid really just to do that. But being part of that community, and, and archery. So I'm niche down to be like veterans in archery. But, I would tell you, the archery community in general, God, it's super supportive. Right. Someone shoots a Matthews, someone shoots a PSE. I mean, it's like, I drive a Toyota, or I drive, a Lexus or something. I mean, but, people can go back and forth. Trucks would be a good one. I drive a Dodge. I drive a Ford. And you're like, okay, dude, I mean, whatever. They're both trucks. Like they work. Yeah. So it is. And that focus helps. And so actually talking about Camp Bullis, like I went out there the other day and I totally forgot my release. I had switched out bino harnesses, and I usually keep it in the one, but I had it in my hip quiver. I didn't bring my hip quiver. I just grabbed my arrows because I was like, I don't need to wear my hip quiver. and my release was there. I'm gonna tell you though, that feeling getting there, like unpacking my bow, it's like bringing your rifle to the rifle range and you didn't bring bullets. You're like, okay, this is not going to work without it. I can't do it.
No, man. No.
But I would tell you, I sat there though, still on the range. And actually I brought like a vest. So you're familiar with bullets? Yeah. So the little gravel trail, I did a little workout. I brought my vest with me and did a little PT still. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, and and that is one of the things. It's a good point that you mentioned. I mean, I think some people, if they want to get into archery or anything for that matter, they think like, well, I have to have the same equipment as like that guy or that person over there, and it's like, no, just kind of get started. I mean, right now, like I have a $600 bear that I have. Haven't really gone out and fired it very much yet. Maybe I'm just kind of looking for the occasion to. But ever since I saw the range aboard Camp Bullis, I'm like, okay, because same as you, I live in a pretty developed area near a neighborhood. I live in an apartment, so I can't really go out into the side of my building here and start slinging arrows. But it's a great activity, and it's something I want to get into. And eventually, I do want to hunt with my bow as well, especially here in Texas with all the hogs we have.
It's a beauty. I have hunted, and I just always. Like the guys always went on a hunt, right? And I would coordinate something or blah, blah, blah. So that's on my list too, as I said to myself and my wife, I said, I need to go on a hunt this year. Right. Because again, I'm not a bad shot by any means. But now it's like, it's the time, right? Just now I do have the time and it's part of it. So I need because people used to offer me hunts all the time and I would be like, oh, I can't, I don't have time, or I'm doing this, or, thank you. Always appreciative of the offer, but I would never anyone take up. But now I'm like, okay, who's got hunts? I want to go on. I want to go on some too. They actually hunt on Camp Bullis, but I've never gotten into any of that like regs because you can hunt out there.
I guess I do remember seeing some of the taxidermy and that lodge there. Some really nice looking animals
it's not bad.
that came from there.
Yeah, so I tell you, that's another benefit, right? The military being able to get like back on a base, right? Mm-hmm. And the base has facilities, and so like Camp Bullis's little outdoor thing, it's a great little facility out there, man. It's awesome.
Now, did you get access to the base just with like what your
do you have ID card?
Okay, because like I have my my VA card, which I have it set up for all the other ones like Randolph, Fort Sam Houston, and Lackland. I don't know if Camp Bullis falls into that purview though. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm retired, so I actually have a retired ID card.
Okay. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. My girlfriend, she's working for the DoD as a civilian contractor, so she got me aboard, and that's how that worked. Yeah. But yeah, I'll look into that for sure. So you are going to be heading up there pretty soon to go ahead and do your vendor thing. But for the time being, for our listeners and our viewers, how can they find Arrow and Honor Co. and how can they connect with you through there?
So I got a little website up. But like anything, I think it needs improvements. But that's right. I'm doing it. I had a friend do it for me, but now I'm maintaining it, so I need to do better at it. But there's a website, so it's www.arrow and honor co, right? So just co.com. You can just Google Arrow and Honor Co. and it'll come up. LinkedIn, I only do just even like how my personal, I do Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So they're all under Arrow and Honor Co. Right. And then just even following me because I've been doing, right. It's just me. So it's funny. I tell if Arrow and Honor Co responds back, I'm like, it's just me. It's Dan. Right. But you got to play that. So like tomorrow, like on LinkedIn or even Instagram, like I did it, but on Instagram, I collabed with Arrow and Honor Co. Cause it's a photo I took of my son holding a bow, actually wearing one of the shirts. And, it's a good photo. So, right. But on LinkedIn, you can't collab with any of it. So I'm putting it up on mine because if people who play around on LinkedIn, personal accounts usually do better than business accounts, usually. So tomorrow it'll go up on mine, but as Arrow and Honor Co, I'll repost. Right. So So I play that game back and forth. Right. And so for me, yeah, it's all under Dan Horgan. Other than Facebook. So Facebook actually is Danny Nicholas. And I make that cringe. Just Facebook I don't do really Facebook. It hasn't been. So when I created it, Nicholas is my middle name. And so
okay.
I just,
I was about to ask. So
Nicholas is my middle name. So it really, and my mother and Evan Hafer call me Danny. And so when I made that account, it was Danny Nicholas. And so I just kept it.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, good as reason as any to keep it that way. Right on.
Right.
But yeah, and I will certainly get links to all of that in the show notes for this episode.
Josh, I appreciate it.
Yeah, or if we have viewers watching us talk on YouTube, it'll be down in the description below. They can just go there and click away and find everything.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Dan, as we start winding down here, I just have a few more standard questions that I wanted to ask you. And these are questions that I ask all my guests towards the end of the show. And the first thing I like to ask my guests to do is to issue a challenge to our listeners, because we got to hear some stories from you today. We got to get some information from you today. But as I always say, stories, information, inspiration, motivation, all that stuff can really take our listeners and viewers just so far. They themselves actually have to go follow up with action when they're done listening to us talk to do amazing things in their lives. So with that, what challenge would you issue to our listeners and viewers today for them to go out there and start living a more adventurous life?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I'm not rolling my eyes, but I'm thinking like I could say get in archery, right? Some stuff like that. I think that's an easy one, but I don't want to give an easy answer. I'm going to tell you, I think what I would challenge people, it doesn't have to be, but my challenge would be like, especially I think, so again, being the veteran, it's near and dear to my heart, is get involved with some veteran nonprofit, right? It doesn't have to be a donation. And when I mean get involved, over 45,000 veteran nonprofits out there. They need volunteers, right? They do need donations, I'm sure, but they also just need your support. So getting involved is pick one, right? Pick one. And I mean, because again, there's archery nonprofits for veterans. There's fly fishing. There's horses, right? There's golf. I'm sure there's probably a veteran pickleball nonprofit, right? So whatever you have in your life, like that would be my challenge, is get involved somehow. Get involved somehow with a veteran nonprofit and give them the support, because it's needed for sure. That'd be my challenge.
Well, there's also a lot of ways to do it, like quickly and freely too. I mean, like sharing like an Instagram post from a nonprofit, that costs nothing, giving them some engagement, maybe a couple of nice comments, that helps their profiles get more visible, which is indirectly supporting them as well. So it doesn't have to be like super complicated to offer your support to one of these nonprofits. It
really doesn't. And they need it, because again, over 45,000, and there's really great ones. And some are, $800,000 a year, which is small compared to like a Wounded Warrior Project, right? Which is tens of or hundreds of millions, who knows, right? But they need support. So pick one, right, that fits your morals and what you think and what you want to do, because right, not everyone's a Green Beret, not everyone's a Navy SEAL, not everyone's a TACP. So there's a ton, right? And from the mental health to food and homelessness for veterans. So somehow get involved and help out and get involved and support a veteran nonprofit would be my challenge.
All right. Right on, brother. So what I have for you next is my final three fun questions. At least I like to think that they're fun questions that I ask all my guests at the end of the show. And the first of these three questions is, what is your favorite place that you've been to so far
in life? Wow. I don't know. I like a trip. I did a trip again back in 2002, September, St. Croix, the Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nice spot. Well, I didn't go to St. Croix, but I went to St. John. Okay. And that was pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, St. Croix is pretty nice.
Okay. And I think that is actually a first to come up on the podcast, Dan. I don't think anyone said St. Croix, and I don't even think anyone has brought up the Virgin Islands at all, neither the U.S. or the British Virgin Islands. So there we go.
St. Croix is part of your U.S. territory. So
far we are 1 for 1 for original answers to these final three, but I got two more for you. So let's see how these ones roll out here. So the next question that I wanted to ask you, and I know you said you're not a fan of bucket lists, but my question would be, what is one thing on your bucket list that you have yet to do?
I don't know. I've done a lot. Like I would say, like I haven't scuba dive or scuba dove. I don't know if I really want to. Um, so I say that, but one of the things I do think I want to do, I have friends that do it. It could be a bucket list. Is I want to do like a Colorado or a Montana or an Idaho, but a fly fishing trip. So I've never done fly fishing. I got friends. So if they listen, they do stuff with Project Healing Waters, which is fly fishing. And again, they've always offered. It's just taking them up on it. But I want to get out there, man. I want to be in some waders. I want to be in the middle of a river, right? I want to catch a fish. It'd be great. But I'm gonna tell you, like, just be throwing some line, doing some fly fishing.
That's a peaceful way to spend the day. That sure sounds like it.
Yeah.
And then, when I see like all of that footage or photos of people fly fishing in like Montana rivers, it's like, and they're surrounded by mountains and just greenery for as far as the eye could see.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, I can get with that for sure. So. And that is definitely a first to come up on the podcast. No one's brought up fly fishing trips as an answer to this question. And should you ever decide to get into scuba diving, I'll go dive with you because I was actually talking about this with someone earlier today. You know, I've been certified for years, but it's been a good while since I've gotten in the water myself. So I'm kind of thinking, you know what, I should probably book another scuba trip at some point too.
Sharks, man, they eat people. Like I know, like I get it, but I don't know. Like I just never. Like, so I've flown on planes. Like I've been thousands of hours as air crew. I've never wanted to be a pilot. Like I don't want to fly a plane. So like scuba diving, like I love the water. Like I love kayaking and paddleboarding. I love boating and things like that. I've never really wanted to scuba dive.
And speaking of sharks, I saw this on Instagram earlier today as well. This year is the 50th anniversary of the film Jaws.
Oh, so
that movie's like making a resurgence. I think they're doing like a limited like theater release for it or something like that too. Yeah. But that's been coming up quite a bit. But I don't know. It's just I've never been all that concerned about sharks. I mean, honestly, what I'm more concerned about is the damn jellyfish because they're just everywhere. And then it's just they'll just sting you and just not give a fuck. So
so I don't want that. I mean, skydiving, like I've done tandem, and just like the parachute not opening is like the only thing, right? But that's those odds. But there's nothing in the air. It's coming to get me, right? There is no flying jellyfish or shark or eagle or something that's going to get me. So I'll jump out of a plane all day. Scuba diving, like it's not a fear. I'm like, nah.
Well, it's a weird thing because it's just as humans, we do not have the ability to breathe underwater. So for all intents and purposes, we're really not supposed to be underwater for like 30 plus minutes at a time or whatever. So it is a little bit unusual. Well, and it's the same thing with skydiving, like you mentioned. We don't know we can't fly. Like physically, we do not have the ability to fly. So, but yet we're like jumping out of planes and somehow landing safely on the ground with these contraptions that we put together. So
I just saw the new Mission Impossible, man. I mean, he does some serious scuba diving. He's great.
Yeah, actually.
See it?
Yeah, I did go see the movie, and I tell you, the scene that you are referring to, that was one of the most anxiety-inducing scenes I've seen in any Mission Impossible film, or maybe even any film for that matter. Because again, like being a scuba diver, I know exactly what he's feeling at that depth and everything like that. And I'm just like, oh my, And then when he's coming up and with getting the bends, and I'm just like, no. So that whole movie was anxiety-inducing with the submarine and the plane, and then but also good. It had such a serious tone to it. Like there was very few like jovial moments like in the previous films. Like the whole movie was grim like the whole way through.
Yeah.
So okay. All right.
Third one.
Yeah, and the third question, and this is a two-parter. What is your favorite animal, and have you seen this animal in the wild?
Real animal.
Well, I would hope so.
Fake, yeah.
I mean, actually, if you want to answer this with a mythical creature, that is definitely a first for the podcast. By all means, go right ahead.
I probably would have said dragon. Like I would have loved. So I played Dungeons and Dragons back in the days. Like I would have, and then like Game of Thrones. I'd love to see a dragon. God, that'd be crazy, right? Real, I've seen, like, I don't know, like, if I do like, so, I mean, I would say a bald eagle, like, I love it, and I have seen it. And when you see one, you're just like, it's one of those, like, ooh, look at that, right? Because you don't get to see them often. But yeah, so I think bald eagle, so real animal, bald eagle, and yeah, I've seen one, like, out in the wild. Yeah.
But now, can we actually be fully convinced that dragons are purely mythical, though? Because if you look on history,
dinosaurs,
pretty much like different cultures in different parts of the world and different time periods, all kind of effectively believed in dragons, like to some degree. And then also, if you look at the Chinese zodiac calendar, why do they have a dragon as one of, like, the animals of the zodiac amongst very, very common creatures like rats and pigs and ox and stuff like that? I mean, unless if they actually believe that dragons were real at some point in time. I don't know.
I don't know either, but a dragon would gotta be cool.
Okay, now are we talking like the like medieval, like European, like winged dragons with the big bodies, the long necks, or are we talking like the snake-like dragons that you might see?
Big red Dungeons and Dragons, fire breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dragon, 100%. Like the knight in armor, or even, God, what was the movie that McConaughey was in? And they had to slay dragons, like in England, right? They were
Reign of Fire back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
The dragons in that one were wicked. Those are probably like the best like live action dragon depictions in any movie. So
something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
And then Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale, like, together slaying dragons, good casting choice right there. So, all right. And that is definitely a first, Dan. Like I said, dragons, no one's brought that up before, but I'll allow it. I'll allow it this time because it's pretty badass. So.
I love it.
All right. Well, Dan, that's it, brother. That's all the questions that I have for you tonight. But before we call it a day here, let's just recap one more time where our listeners and viewers can go connect with you and where they can find and support Arrow and Honor Co.
Yep. So Dan Horgan on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Arrow and Honor Co. on the same three: Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And then the website, right? So the website, arrowandhonorco.com. And like I have 4 shirts on there now. I'm doing a Purple Heart design that'll get released on the 4th. That is going to be something special. That's a very limited run. That's going to get help out a nonprofit. And then I just did a hat that my guy made me a hat. So it's tropical multicam with my little saying, draw, aim, heal written on it. So I'm going to have those on the website, and there'll be more. Like I got about 5 more good ones in the bank right now before I even need to start creating them. But again, bootstrapping it, my money. So I'm going to kind of slow roll some of those designs out, but it's going well so far. But yeah, that's where they can find it and support it. Or if anyone's in Purgatory Resort, which is Durango, Colorado, the 11th through the 13th, I'll be up in Durango, Colorado, the 11th through the 13th here of July.
Purgatory Resort. Wow, what of an inviting name for a resort.
Right, it's up in Durango. Yeah,
I'm sure it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right, Dan. Well, like I said, I'll have all those linked up in the show notes for this episode. Or again, if we have any viewers watching us talk on YouTube, it'll be down in the description below. They can find all the links there.
Cool. Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely. All right, Dan. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time for joining me tonight. I know you're really busy getting ready for, this upcoming trip that you have, and there's a lot of, preparations that you have to do. But I really appreciate you being here and sharing your stories and insights with myself and the listeners. It's been great, Dan.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I really do.
All right. Right on.